Zoom. The laws governing boards of education require that their work be done where the public can observe their actions. Please remember that this is the board's meeting for the public to observe. Others may participate only with the board approval. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Okay, has anyone not signed the guest list? Everybody has? Thank you very much. Hang on. Number 2 is approval of the executive session meetings from February 10th, 2025, and approval of the regular board minutes from February 10th, 2025.
I move to approve the February 10th, 2025 Cascade School Board minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the February 10th, 2025 exec session and regular board minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Prioritize the agenda. Mr. Drill.
I think we can go straight down the line, sir.
Dynamite. Then that means you're up. Superintendent's report.
All right. Good evening. Welcome to March. I can't believe we're saying that, but we're getting close to spring break, and then suddenly we got 3 quick months and you're standing on the stage at graduation. So that'll be a fun time, won't it? Just to update real quick, we've been talking about student numbers the entire school year. And this month, right at the end of February, beginning of March is when our student numbers actually now exceed the numbers that we had last year, right? So last year went up like a peak and came back down. This has kind of done this and stayed flat all the way across. So it's a little different than last year, but that does allow for us to kind of say, hey, this time last year we were about the same. My guess is we'll probably stay a little bit ahead of our last year's numbers for the rest of the year. That helps us some financially. Scott can kind of explain that if you need him to, but the reality is, we've spent half a year behind. So that means that from a financial standpoint, we won't be seeing any big increases in dollars, right? It's really connected to how many students you have. So a flat number is a good number. In this day and age across the state, when so many districts are losing kids and don't have as many as they did the year before, having a right about the same is a good thing all the way around. The state legislature is still in session. And we got past one hurdle, which is they get a February financial forecast. They'll get one in May as well. The reality is that they will probably not set a number for K-12 education until they get to the May forecast, which is usually, I think it's the second week of May when that comes out. So once we see that, they'll start to wrap up the legislature. We'll have a pretty good idea of what we'll have financially to deal with. Appreciate Scott handling that. He's doing a lot of what ifs in his budget. What if it's this number? What if it's that number? How do we play that game? And, I think we're in pretty good shape dealing with those. Unfortunately, those unknown numbers, we also don't know exactly what we landed on with regard to our negotiations. So this is a year it's a little more unknown, but we're trying to make sure that all the other pieces of it are really, really clear for us in our budgetary process. So, and then also like to thank, he's actually in the crowd tonight. So I'd like to thank Olin, and I would like to thank Joe for checking our bus routes in the morning on winter mornings. That's just part of it. So, they get up at 4, start checking along with our bus company. So we have all corners of our district checked. They check it. They give me an update by 5:30. If we go to delay, then they stay out till 7:30. If we actually go to school, then they just come to work and then work the rest of the day. So really appreciate that. Always want to say thank you to them publicly. If you get a chance, please thank them. That really makes sure that we do a good job. And I feel like we do a pretty good job of trying to make sure that people are safe, but that we take care of our business financially and making sure kids come to school. With regard to the 2 days that we missed, right, back in February, please remember that we have far more hours than we need with regard from the state of Oregon. My recommendation would be, considering how hard everybody works and the evenings and weekends that they put in, that we don't go up, that we don't make those up. If we get to 3 or 4 or 5 days, then normally that's been the tradition from this board that we go ahead and do that. It's not a motion that I put on tonight, but if I get nods of heads, then we can kind of go ahead and move forward and let that know. If you got a big problem with it, please, speak up and let me know. Any other questions?
I got two questions for you.
Yes.
One's not a question. The lights at Cloverdale were adjusted last week. Much improved. Thank you very much for your diligence and follow-up on that.
Please also thank Albert. He's the guy that really got on that. We're basically checking in and he does our lights in combination with taking care of our IT stuff, right? He's our liaison along
Thank
with
you.
Brian Dyer. So those two guys together helped make sure that that happened. Took us a little while for them to come out,
It
but
took a while, but it appears that it was the right thing. So thank you for that.
okay,
So
excellent.
my second question is, I see a lot of stuff's on the news at the federal level about stuff going on with the Department of Education, et cetera. How much will that affect us if things are massively changed at the federal level?
It's a problem. Most districts in the state get somewhere between 9 and 11% of their budget with regard from the feds.
Okay, that was part of my question.
We're
right there.
not quite as affected as other districts, but we are affected with regard particularly to the title programs. And as Scott talked to our staff today about Medicaid, Medicare,
Right.
because what that does is our state actually collects a lot of that. And if they don't have that, they're going to need money to replace it. The money that would go to.
Right. So
Maybe
really
from
we're
us.
saying that 11.36 billion would be affected by this potentially.
Could be. It could be. Not only that, but the PERS increase, right? They had set,
Oh, yeah.
the governor set that number before the PERS increase popped up. So we didn't really see
So it
that
could be a
coming.
double hit.
Could be.
And
It could be.
Yeah.
11.36 is far better than the 10.3, 10.4 that we're 10.2 and a
Right.
half that we're getting now.
so the answer is we don't know what's coming from the federal level at this point.
Correct.
A lot of speculation,
Correct.
but who knows?
We've talked about it. The title program, Mr. Dyer and I work on that as well. We're looking at a 25% decrease in title. So we need to account for that in the process. That's not a large number for us, but it's not small.
Right.
It's significant
Right.
enough that we need to look at it. And we have people that are hired directly from title money, right? To help with our kids that are poor, help with our kids that are struggling in reading and those things, particularly at the elementary level. So we're going to have to do some refiguring about how that process works.
So if that just flat disappeared, that money, how soon would it affect us? Could it affect us tomorrow or are we a year out?
It could affect us tomorrow, or they could wait for it to take effect the next federal calendar year. So it just
So it's the
depends.
same answer, still don't know.
So unknown is a great thing, as is our tariffs, however you want to say it. Any of those things, that's very much an unknown.
Okay, so you did not answer my question.
I'm sorry, couldn't tell you. Sorry, I apologize, but if I did know, I would not be here. They would have me somewhere else speaking right now.
All right.
That's a fact.
Any other questions for Mr. Drill? All right, thank you, Mr. Drill.
Thank you.
Moving on, Finance Director's report. Mr. Pillar.
Is this all right? Can
Yeah.
everybody hear me? Sorry about that.
Just the top
There.
works.
Okay, that's it. I'd like to thank Mr. Drill for giving my financial report today. Thank you. That's all I have for you. No, to answer one, partially expand a little bit on the federal programs number. Typically, the federal programs, the money that we get for federal programs, we get about $2.8 to $3 million every year in federal program money. That money is usually set in the year prior. So, however, the current administration is now actively starting a continuing resolution to keep the budget going for currently. And that is actually that budget resolution is setting the federal funding that we receive for next fall, starting next fall. So there is, like, as Mr. Drill said, there is an opportunity or a chance that some of that, a significant drop in that federal funding could occur as early as September for us. And so that's the money, the funding flow from the feds, their fiscal year ends on September 30th. So, which is, typically around our school year start. So we typically have a little bit left over from the prior year that we spend early in that year, and then we move into the next year. So we have perhaps a little bit of flexibility, but not a lot if it was to go away completely. Most of that money, though, is set in federal law that has been around since the 60s, including IDEA, title programs, those types of things. So the chances of, by executive order, any changes in that, in my opinion, are fairly low. Okay. As Mr. Joe mentioned, we're keeping an eye on a lot of what ifs when it comes to the budget. Fortunately, we've got a kind of a newer system in terms of position-based budgeting. And so we're doing a lot of different scenarios that are going around and around and around. And we're keeping very close eye on what the legislature has to say in terms of what our funding is going to look like. But this is one of the more, I guess, challenging budget years that I've ever experienced because typically at this time of the year, we have a decent idea where we're going to end up. And I really don't have much of an idea of where we're going to end up this year, particularly with the increase in the PERS costs that we're looking at as well. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So I hate to overpromise and underdeliver. So I'm just letting you know, it might be really tight. It hopefully will be okay.
So can we talk hard numbers? What's the PERS number we're looking at?
It will probably increase our expenditures roughly between 450 to 550,000 next year alone.
So $500,000 more is what it's going to cost us. That's coming out of our general fund.
Back of the napkin, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything else being
And
stable.
In your report here, how caught off guard are we by the temporary teacher staff leave that we're paying for?
Fairly off guard. We typically have a couple of people that are out on extended leave at any one time. I think paid medical family leave has made it easier for people to take extended leaves.
Yes.
And by virtue of that, we've had more people take that opportunity. And because of the situation in other districts around us, mainly Salem Kaiser, we've been able to attract some very good temporary teachers. However, they have been more senior in their experience and therefore more expensive.
Do you know roughly what we anticipate for teacher leave and what we're actually paying this year? How much, do we factor usually 100 grand? It's costing us 300. What do we?
I actually, when we build budgets, I don't actually take that until now. I have not taken that into consideration. I mean, there's enough cushion in our budget, and if I'm trying, I haven't even really given a lot of thought to it, and so for this year, I didn't put anything in the budget for that, and so to have this big pot of things.
What is it looking like it's going to cost us?
I haven't estimated it, so I hesitate to give you 600 grand.
It's a big number. Okay.
Yeah.
Throw that on top of the PERS. That's a big chunk.
Yeah, we hopefully won't see that as much next year, and we do plan to put in a special revenue fund just for that particular case.
Which the PERS or the teacher absence?
We already have one for PERS.
Okay.
Remember, we've been putting one away for quite a while for the PERS experience. We started that, I think, 2 biennia ago, when we were facing some things. But we're talking about doing some things for some temporary teacher staff.
Okay, just so
because it seems like that's something that we're going to be facing for ages along. I mean, our workforce is changing too. The demographic of our really solid teachers are, they're just getting younger. They're at that age.
Right. No, understood. Yeah. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. High school principals report. Mr. Rasmussen.
Good evening, you guys. I don't want to take a ton of time because both Mr. Woodrow and Mr. Rise have presentations tonight. I just want to make one note though. At the bottom, there's a graphic that was given to us by our accreditation. Getting scolded over here. What if I wanted to walk around and get all animated? Just what?
You talk really loud.
I can tell you that, but it's not me you're going to answer to. It's going to be her.
Okay.
Good luck.
It's going to hurt me because, all right. At the bottom is a graphic, and they took some keywords from the people who shared with our the accreditation committee about our schools, and they made that graphic. And the word in the middle that struck me was community. And I think that I really want to share just a moment of this as really a moment of gratitude as a principal now here in this district and a teacher and a coach and someone who's raised their kids. You really get to see that community process over the time. And you've got board members who had kids come through there. You've got students who became principals. You've got a 23-year-old teacher right now who was our kid. She's just killing it in our schools. And so that notion of community really makes a difference. And that's where I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to serve this community and to serve with some great people. We have our problems. One of Mr. Woodall's favorite sayings is, there's job security in this job because there's going to be problems walking through the door every day. And he is 100% right. I thought I was going to do a whole bunch of different stuff today, and I ended up doing completely different things. And that's pretty much every day. So I just want to thank you for the chance to serve. I want to thank you for the chance to be a part of this community. And ultimately, our accreditation came back fine. Got some good feedback on that, but ultimately it was a good thing. So if you have any questions, that's great. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to these guys.
No, then hand away.
Hand away.
You're next
Okay.
on the list, right? I think you got your assistant principal report.
Oh, high school assistant principals report. Yes, I do. Mr.
Yeah.
Woodrow, so sorry.
First thing I want to acknowledge is at this time last year, I came to you guys with the idea of renaming the main gym Mark Stevens Court. And our first league game of the year, we put signage up to recognize that. And I want to thank a few people, John Iverson and the Metal Shop, and specifically his students, Christian Bowe and Ryland Collins, who put that sign together. And I just think it was a great tribute to a man who has meant so much to me and this community. And it was a great opportunity just to celebrate him. So I was really thrilled to do that. The next thing I want to do is recognize a few staff members. The first one is Bob Thompson. He is our campus monitor, which is kind of a tough job because you're not in the classroom, you're not an administrator, but your main job is to go out there and build relationships with kids and keep an eye on students and make sure everybody's being safe. And I just really appreciate in a short amount of time how well he has created those relationships with students and staff to the point where he's supportive of them, but he can also hold them accountable. And he's done such a great job in that role, and such a great position to have just another set of eyes out there working with our kids. So I really appreciate that. There's also a few staff members I want to recognize. We have a great staff at Cascade High School. But the staff members here, Matt Dillon, Molly Heron, Lily Roth, and Haley Wright, I want to recognize mainly them tonight because these are all temporary employees who are coming in and they are only guaranteed this year with us. And not only are they teaching, but they are coaching, they are volunteering for chaperone opportunities, they are running student council, they are going above and beyond investing in our kids, even though this might be the only year they're with us. And I think that says a lot about their character. And whoever has them after Cascade, hopefully, maybe we keep some of them, maybe we don't. Whatever school that gets them is going to be thrilled to have them. Okay. And so I just want to recognize those staff members because, they are just temporary employees. A lot of times they're just teaching and that's it. And these staff members have gone above and beyond. The next part I want to talk about, my main job at the high school is discipline. And I consider that a two-part thing where student management, 95% of our kids are doing the right thing all the time. And a big part of my student management is to recognize good things kids are doing. And a lot of this we've been doing for years, whether it's having teachers write postcards, sending them home quarterly each term, and putting them in for gift cards and just recognizing those kids. You see a list of trips that we're taking kids on who have good grades, who have good attendance. This week, I'm taking a Rooter bus up to Forest Grove to support the basketball teams. On Friday, I'm taking a group of kids to Top Golf, and then hopefully, team's still playing, we go and we continue to support the basketball teams later that day. But to me, the big part is just to celebrate the great things kids are doing because, I think we continue to promote that and kids realize they're going to get recognized for the good things they're doing. And that's kind of pressure to put on the kids who don't always make the good choices that, hey, if you're doing the right thing, we're gonna let you know about it. The next thing that I want to talk about is just last year, for the first time, we put in an attendance requirement for seniors. If they wanted to walk at graduation, they'd have 90% or better attendance. And every 6 weeks, seniors get letters saying whether they have below 90% attendance and saying, hey, if the year was to end today, you would not walk at graduation. And I would say each time we sent letters out, it was about 40 students. This year, it's between 15 and 20. And to me, what that shows is a culture change in our schools as far as we prioritize you being here. Because I told kids ask me, I'm passing all my classes, I'm getting all my credits, why do I have to be here? I'm like, this place is only special because we have special kids. And if you are not here, this place no longer continues to be special. So I stress that to both students and parents that if we want to keep this place being great, we need you here as much as possible. And you can go anywhere to get a high school diploma. You can go online, you can transfer to other schools. But I think what we have to offer here is more than just credits. And I want kids to experience as much as that as possible. The next part that I want to talk about, and this is just in the very beginning stages, is just how can we increase the rigor of our educational experience at the high school. Some of the things we're playing around with is just limiting how many times students can take TA classes, how many times they can get early release, late arrival, because we believe in what we do here. And we think that's important. And we're nothing finalized there, but that's just something going forward is I want kids to experience everything that we have to offer at Cascade, even if it makes them uncomfortable. Because, you know, when I put in this attendance policy, it made students uncomfortable. I didn't want to be here. I'm already passing classes, parents. I have to now force my kid to come to school. Even teachers push back a little bit. Now kids are going to come when they're sick. And I think if we're going to go from being just good, but to great, I think the important thing is sometimes it's got to be a little uncomfortable and we got to push people out of their comfort zone to make them do things they don't normally do so we can become that great school. So anyway, that's my report. You guys, I only come once a year, so this is it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so to make them uncomfortable, then is it forcing them to take a class that they would not normally choose to take?
Exactly, and
Okay.
that brings its own set of issues because, you know, I'll require a kid to take a foods elective that's a senior, and they have no interest in cooking, no interest in doing foods, but Don Branchen runs a great program, and we want you to experience it. And even elective teachers will push back a little bit saying, you know, this kid didn't want this class. I get that, but we feel if they experience it with you, they will appreciate it. They may not appreciate it at the beginning, first week, second week, but we think in the long run that it's an opportunity for them to do something they hadn't done their 4 years. So I think that's important. Like I said, that's in the very beginning stages. I'm not sure where exactly we'll take it, but that is something I would like to see is for those kids to, you know, try a shop class if they never did, a drama class, something different other than just what's the bare minimum. How do I get it so I can graduate? I want them to do more than just that.
Right, that's a great
All
idea.
right.
I actually have another
No, go
question.
ahead.
but-
No,
Okay.
fire away.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious about the monitor. So I get the noon time and the in-between classes, and I think it's great we have one. We've needed it for years. But what is he doing when the kids are in class? Is he outside monitoring the ones that
You know,
shouldn't be
sometimes
out
kids
there?
aren't always in class when class is going on, so. So we will, you know, they'll go out and just check on, see what they're doing. You know, I would say a lot of it is just building relationships. Hey, you know, where are you supposed to be right now? How's your school day going? I think Bob does such a great job of, you know, coming off kind and sincere, and at the same time saying, hey, what are you supposed to be doing right now? Where are you supposed to be at?
So he's inside too, asking the kids that are out of
Absolutely.
class. Oh, I
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah.
This is so great.
Yeah, he does junior
Both
high and high
buildings.
school, yes. Yeah.
That is wonderful. Good for everybody.
Yeah, mine's not a question. I
Yes.
just, I appreciate that you do the positive part of it too. I think that's huge and easily forgotten, you know, so
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad you
think-
put an importance on it.
You know, and I always tell, I mean, whether I'm sitting in a kid with a referral or expulsion area, I give the same speech every time, and you guys have probably heard it, is the consequence piece is a very small part of what we do. I mean, every kid's gonna experience consequences in school. I don't care how good your kid is. It's going forward, what can we do to support you and what changes can you make on your end so we're not in the same situation again? I mean, every high school is about making mistakes, whether it's with each other in the classroom on a test, doesn't matter. It's how we grow from those mistakes. So I think that's a stress I put on with that job is the consequence piece. That could be whatever. You can kind of come up with that, but what can we do for you going forward to help support you making better choices?
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask one quick question. So you said here that the seniors, it was 40 to 45 that attended, got the letters. Now it's 15 to 20.
Mhm.
Do you, in your opinion, is it primarily the kid? Is it the parent? Is it a combo of the two? What's not bringing that kid to class?
I would say a lot of times it's just that senior year, you have a relaxed schedule.
Right.
Not nearly as many requirements. Kids have kind of figured out a way. We've made it convenient for kids to miss, and I don't want to and the fact that so much of it's online, whether it's Google Classroom, they can get a lot of their work from home, and I think that has what initially kept kids at home is I can still get my work done.
Right.
Well, like I said, that's such a small part of what we do, just schoolwork. And now every 6 weeks, letters go out, so it reminds them. And kids talk amongst themselves. I mean, I remember at the end of last year, junior saying, "Is this true? 90% attendance?" And we talk about it. And kids talk amongst themselves, and they realize that, hey, I got to be here. How many times I can't tell you how many times kids said, the only reason I'm here today is because I want to walk at graduation. I'll say, great, it's working.
It's working. So of the 15 to 20 kids that got letters, are most of those kids passing? They're just not here for attendance? Is it a grade?
Yeah,
issue,
I
or
would
is
say about 20% of them are struggling. Some of them, I mean, some of the kids on there they're homeless. They live in an Airbnb in Salem that we bus in each day. And so some kids have had some major medical issues, and that's why we have the appeal process. We realize things do happen.
Right.
And we do have a requirement that you have to do seat time. So for how many days you need to make up to get up to 90%, you'll have to stay either after school, or if you have early release late arrival, you stay then to make up that time. And at that point, it's more just to kind of make a point. But the idea is by sending the letters out every 6 weeks, it's just a subtle reminder, hey, you need to be here, and it's important. And I'm more than willing to have that conversation with parents because I do, like I said before, it's important that you're here because you guys bring a ton to the table when you're here. We think your kid's important and have a lot to offer other students and the staff.
Got it.
So.
All right, thank you.
You're not on trial here, so I'm fine with an incomplete answer. If every one of those kids that takes the late start, early dismissal, instruction, TA spot, term after term after term, if every one of those kids said, Mr. Woodraw's right, I need to be a full-time student. If every one of them quit doing all those other things, do we actually have enough seats for those people to be
Classes
in?
are gonna get full. I mean, there is definitely, something that we would have to address with staffing. I think, I don't think you could do all of it, like early TA, early release late arrival. You probably have to choose one. And, that would nudge up numbers in classes. I think trying to say, you can't have any of those is not feasible given the staffing we have right now. But I think, just a simple thing is each year you can get 1 credit for TA. And now you have to take something else, or you can have 1 late arrival or 1 early release during the year. You would have to, then you have to start making an investment for, more staff. The other thing is if kids are legitimately doing things such as they have a job and they can produce, I'm working 30, 35 hours a week. That is a class in our eyes, it's work experience. So there are ways to pick up, but we just want to know that you're doing something positive and not just sleeping in and going home early. So we'd probably have to get creative with ideas. Some kids will go to Schmecca to take classes. Maybe that's something we open up. If it's a class that we don't offer here, maybe we can send them there. But that's gonna take more planning and just more logistical organization to determine that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Woodruff. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I want to back up. No, you come on up. No, you're okay. Real quick, I want to back up. Finance Director's report, Mr. Pillar. It was in your report, but I didn't mention it. You didn't bring it up. Congratulations on your SFO certification. Nice job. And I like your lanyard. All right, I'm sorry. Back to the Athletic Director's report. Mr. Rise.
Thank you. Thank you all for having my report there in front of you. I'll be quick. I think we have some celebration for our winter sports as they kind of come to a close here, both performance-based, but also on the academic side and GPAs. All of our winter sports finished in the top half of the state in terms of their GPA compared to other teams in the state. I think this is the first time since I've been here. Also, it was our boys wrestling team that finished highest. So they finished 5th in state in terms of GPA, which is fantastic for them. I think we had about 135 student athletes in the winter sports. Again, we had 2 state champions on the wrestling team. We sent 6 to state in swim. Our boys and girls basketball teams won their first round playoff game this last weekend. So they're both to the Final 8 again in Forest Grove this Thursday. So in terms of performance on the court or field has been great. But again, I think that GPA side of things is also very, very important to point out. I think as we transition to spring, just to kind of give you an idea. So we had about 135 athletes in the winter season. We will transition to about 225 for spring sports. So we are up across the board in all of our spring sports. We're kind of staying steady in girls tennis, which Mr. Selsley has always had a big team. But every other sport besides that, we had a little bit of an uptick. And so our participation counts are way up there, which is great. Another reason that I think that is because we return all of our coaches for our spring sports, except on the girls golf side. We have just named Stuart Foster, who was new to the business and social studies department this year. He's going to take on the girls golf team. We have 7 girls out for golf for spring. So again, the number side of things, the performance in the classroom, performance on the field has been strong again, and so that is kudos to not only our staff that coach the sports, but our staff in other classrooms. Our kids miss some classes in the afternoons, and those kids have to go find a way to make up those tests or turn in work they miss. So I want to thank both the kids and the in classroom staff to make that work. A couple things just on the horizon you might start to hear about. The OSAA, which is our governing body for the classification we compete in. Again, we are a 4A size school. Next fall, there will be started discussions for the following 4-year block. All signs right now point to us maintaining the 4A classification for that next block. But I would just kind of throw out there for the following block, from what we've heard with some growth and potential, new development in that following. So like 5 years from now, I think it's probably wise that we start thinking about and talking about what it looks like for us to move up to a 5A size school. So again, the talks will start next fall. By the time we get to next spring, about this time next spring, we will have what our new league looks like, what teams are in those leagues and that as well. But you will start to hear talk probably in August, and we will see the first draft of those next December.
Is that strictly based off the size of the school?
So yes, it's the size of the school, but then the OSAA also has a formula for free and reduced lunch, and the amount of students that you have on that in your high school basically drops your number down. So like I think this year we're in that, for them we're at like 550, but we're upwards of 7. Mr. Rasmussen,
780. 750.
Yeah. Okay.
760.
Yeah. So
Okay.
It's a good question. But again, for that 4-year block starting, again, not for next year, but the following year, from everything we've heard, signs will kind of stay the same and numbers will be about the same.
I got a quick
Yeah.
question. So I'm looking at the report here and it looks like the girls' basketball dropped off a fair bit. Is there a reason that happened? Is it just kind of the ebb and flow of kids setting their interests?
I think that's a longer discussion, but I think there's a lot of things that play into that. I think that it is our job, not on the girls' basketball side, but across the board. You have an opportunity as a coach and a team and a teammate to win your kids every single day. And I think that we have to make sure as a head coach and as a leader of a group that we are doing what we can every day to create excitement, to create a great culture. And I think that we had some kids that maybe were in the freshman, sophomore classes the last couple of years that didn't have that same experience.
Okay.
And I think that there are some other things that kind of play into that. But if you would look at the grades where we kind of fell off, it's that freshman and sophomore years.
Okay, but that's something you guys are aware of.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And
Oh,
have
yeah.
very much figured out what you need to change.
I think we have a good plan. Yeah.
Dynamite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, moving on. Junior high principals report. It looks
Assistant,
like,
assistant.
pardon me, junior high assistant principals report. Ms. Gailey, hello.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm gonna echo because there were such great presentations ahead of me. Bob Thompson has been amazing for us too at the junior high. He just, coming through the halls, he's in at lunch. This is the thing that I love the most. At lunch, I think he goes to almost every table and talks to the kids. So we have a split lunch, we go 7, 8, and then we have just our 6th graders for the other 15 minutes. And he goes around and talks to everybody. And it's really delightful to see. And the kids really respond well to him. And so he's been great. And we know that he'll be willing to help us anytime we need it. And it's just been nice having that extra face around that the kids really enjoy. I deal mostly with discipline. So Greg Nolan and I share discipline duties, and then he also does athletic director. So I decided that I want to talk about all the positive things we're doing here at the board meeting. At the end of the trimester, we have a couple of awards that we're giving kids. Totally Tiger has been a fun one because that means you have no discipline, no tardies, no anything like that. And what I loved is we awarded 238 of those to our kids. That's a third of our school. And I just thought that was such a great, we're doing things, the kids are doing things right. They're doing an amazing job. We also implemented some more GPA things. We recognized a whole bunch of 4.0 students. We had a couple students with perfect attendance, which I just really admire. I think that's a tough gig with getting sick and everything, and they were there every single day. Our teachers also give positive referrals. So through our power school system, they put in referrals and positive referrals. And so they're positive with PAW, positive, you see, it's funny, little positive referrals. We print those off, send them home, go to the classrooms, kind of make a deal, give them a couple candies. And so that's great. And that's coming directly from the teachers. And then every month we have a different thing that we are really looking for with our kids. So we call them the Tiger Awards or the Roar Awards. And so that's really fun to try to say all the time. This month we did Treat Others with Kindness. And I really love that. I love that award. I think I have a shirt for every day of the week that says something about being kind because I know that if we can instill that to our kids and understanding that kindness is sometimes holding the door open, but it's also sometimes not saying anything. And, we can do a lot of different things for our kids for kindness. And so teachers nominated those. Once again, we recognize them. A little bit of candy goes a long way, a couple certificates, and we get it out to their parents. I wanted to recognize, we had our classified staff week. They're amazing. Our classified staff are out in the halls. They do extra supervision. They do study hall after school. They do clubs. They just do anything we ask, and they are just such a dedicated staff, and they just love on our kids all the time. But I really want to shout out to Whitney Ford. Whitney Ford is our skills trainer at the junior high. She is phenomenal. I work with her. We talk every single day about kids, and she kids that are having rough days, she grabs them up and gets them back on track and gets them going back into their classes. She helps with academics. She helps with binder checks. She goes in and out of classrooms. She just is, she is such a huge asset to our building. I wish we had 10 more of her because we need, every school needs 10 more Whitneys. And so I just wanted to highlight her because she just does a really phenomenal job for us. And I really appreciate it. Last but not least, our science curriculum got put in this last year, and it's going pretty good. It's called Twig. The rigor is Mr. Woodall was talking about, increasing the rigor in our schools, and I think that this curriculum really has. It's a lot of real world things. Really gets the kids engaged. They did a hoverboard, so they had to talk about a hoverboard, electromagnets, and then they had to have a villain and a hero. In the presentations were phenomenal. I think that they got a post on the Facebook page, but the kids were thinking about what would happen when, somebody was on the hoverboard and they were trying to escape from the villain, and they had this whole story. So they had total cross-curricular stuff. They had the English, and they were doing a little bit of math, and they were doing art, and it just and that all came from that curriculum. It has just been a really great thing. And Mr. Dyer did some great things with our science crew to get them all together to kind of talk about this and be able to have extra time. So we really appreciate that, the junior high. And so that has just been really great. So that's it. What can I answer for you? Anything?
Any questions? All right, I'll ask you a question. So, yeah, I know.
It's close. No, just kidding, Brett.
Yeah, good try. So you've got 107 students with 4.0 GPAs.
Correct.
Is that typical?
I don't know. And I don't know because this is the first trimester I've done it.
Okay.
And so I could go back and look at the data from the last couple years. But this is the first time I've done a 4.0 that I personally have done.
It just seems like a big number. And then behind that, you've got another
6, 7, and 8.
Okay.
And 8. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's all of them
all
together.
of them.
Yeah.
And then there's another 105 with the 3.5 to 3.99,
Right.
which is flat awesome if you
Yeah.
throw those numbers together.
Yeah.
So
And I can tell you, I'm in and out of the classrooms a lot and talking to the kids, and those don't come easy. Those they're having to put in a lot of it. I really do feel that the rigor and the work that needs to go in to get those grades is high. Our 6th grade staff has they're on those kids and they get everything in. And also Mrs. Leday implemented the cash system, our cash class, which is the last half hour of every day. And the kids have an opportunity to get caught up on homework. They have opportunities to go to other teacher classrooms to be able to retake tests or get extra help. That's where we have our IAs are all in through the building, going through all the classes. And I think that has made a huge difference in the grades and just the amount and quality of work that we are getting turned in.
nice. Well, those are impressive. Nice
Yeah,
job.
thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you very much. Elementary principals reports. First one looks like Cloverdale. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
You bet.
Okay. So thanks for having me. I wasn't sure what to present on today. And somebody said, well, why don't you just talk about all the wonderful things that happen at Cloverdale? So I started going back through our Facebook, and there really are so many wonderful things that we do there. So I just thought I was going to highlight kind of just our school year so far. So going through, we had a family math night, which was really fun. We ended up buying a bunch of different floor mats that had games. Everything was included. Parents came. It was a great time where we were trying to teach parents how to play math games with their kids. So that was really nice. We also had our grandparent bingo come. And we had lots of grandparents come in, and it's really great to see little kids just sitting with their grandparents having a really good time. And the grandparents get super excited. We also have like a veterans assembly that we had. This one means a lot to me just because my family served in the military. But just seeing our kids really just thank all of veterans for everything that they do is really special. We also have clubs and activities. We have like rock wall every other Wednesday, which is fabulous. They get to use that big rock wall in our gym. And then we also have robotics, which our teacher, Mrs. Ishii, does every Tuesday and Thursday, which is fabulous. And the kids absolutely love it. It's almost over though, but either way. So that's something special that I think Cloverdale has. And then also if you just like, when I was first looking at applying for jobs and I looked at Cloverdale, I think it shocked me how many field trips they did. But really field trips are so fantastic because that's what brings the learning to life. And so I want to make sure that that's what kids get the chance to do. And you can even see the kids if they're on the bus, the minute they kind of get outside of Salem or an area like that, they like you can see they just haven't seen that before. So sometimes it's really nice to do all those field trips. So they've got like the zoo, the aquarium, multiple different field trips where they get to experience that. The other thing is we have an amazing PTO, like phenomenal PTO. And they have decided to bring in like these enrichment art days 3 times a year. So we're going to actually have create a memory come to our school, and every child gets to make some sort of a pot or something to remember. And then they'll take it back, fire it up and bring it in. We also are going to start having like somebody come in to teach about art history, and then the kids get to do the art. So something bigger than what we would normally do in a classroom. And then we also have lots of different academic fairs. We've had science fairs, invention fairs, lots of different times where kids are sharing their work. And you'd be amazed at the creativity that these kids have with their science, their science projects, their inventions. It's just fantastic. And the last thing I brought in, it's kind of silly, but it's special to me. But I have a pet tortoise. And the tortoise's name is Tortellini, and it was my class pet that I've had for years. And so now it's like our school pet. And if our kids are doing really well, they earn like a Tortellini token. And then each week we see which classroom has the most tokens, and then they get to have Tortellini for the week. They get to feed her, take care of her, give her a bath, lots of fun things. And so it's just kind of something that's boosted up the morale of the kids, and they're really enjoying it and having a good time. So I know it's nothing about data, it's more of the fluff, but sometimes that fluff is just as nice to see as everything else. So anyway, short and simple. Any questions?
Questions?
No?
I'm having technical issues, so you get off the hook for me.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay.
Do
Thank
we get
you,
to
guys.
see Tortellini?
What?
Do we get to see Tortellini?
Well, there's a picture right there. If you can see her on there. But she is a cutie.
All right.
But thank you, guys.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on. I'm limping here, but we'll try. We're moving on to Turner Elementary Principal's Report. Ms. Iverson. Good
Great.
evening.
Thank you so much for having me here this evening. And I'd like to draw your attention to our math data and why we're so excited about that. About a month ago, I was reading the Oregonian, and it talked about Oregon students lagging far behind the national average. And of course, as a public school educator, I feel defensive. I feel like I want it to be better. So we really dug deep into our iReady data. This is the 4th year of all elementary schools using a new math program called iReady. We had a math program before, but it was one that not all teachers embraced. So frankly, not everybody used it. They kind of put together a piecemeal math program or used whatever their preference was. But now in our 4th year, you can see that it's the same test. There's no smoke and mirrors, apples to apples. All the schools in Oregon using iReady, which are most school districts, we are outperforming them. 26% of Oregon students are 2 grades or more behind. 23% of the nation that use iReady, we are 10%. That doesn't mean that's good enough, but of that 10%, there's students that are either new to us, have a barrier to learning, such as perhaps a disability, or are in line to have some testing done to see why they're not performing well. 50% of our students are slightly below, but of those students that are in the yellow or slightly below, about 30% of those students are just right there. Every week we are studying and evaluating the data. I am a firm believer, as Julia said, in all those wonderful experiences. And I think we are proving that we can have both. We can provide our students with optimal experiential learning, but we can also use the data to drive. And not only having a curriculum that is used with fidelity across the district, but having math coaches that work with the teachers and set up intervention with students. For an example, as somebody who struggled in math as a kid, had I just had some simple manipulatives, some kids need the tangibles. They need to see that 4 of these equal a whole, or 12 of those equal a whole. And our math coaches work with students individually with all kinds of math games, all kinds of manipulatives to make sure those kids get it. Because not everybody gets it by looking at a book or by hearing it, in a class. They need to touch it, they need to see it, they need to work that manipulative for themselves. So do you have any questions about our math data or about my report in general?
I was gonna ask, what's your goal for next year?
I'd asked that math coach that because, 10% is pretty darn good, but it is those students that we're not reaching, that are on an individualized education plan. How can we better serve those kids? Those are kids that are pulled out and they're not working with a math coach. They're going to a resource room. So how can we beef that up? And frankly, 26% of Oregon students are 2 or more grades behind. When we get students in 4th and 5th grade that are so far behind, we're having discussions in both literacy and math. What can we do? Can we do some kind of fast track, in-depth tutoring a couple weeks before school? Because I feel badly about the fact that we had, for an example, 3 5th grade students that were significantly behind in both math and reading. We've only had this year. We're sending them on to the junior high and they're not ready for 6th grade. So together as a district, we need to figure out a plan for students that come to us, especially 4th and above. It's really challenging. I've mentioned before about the 4th grader we received that was pre-K. He didn't know his letter sounds. We have him to 2nd grade. He's going to 6th grade next year.
So how does a kid get from K to 4th grade without knowing their sounds?
In this particular case, school attendance, behavior issues, all contributed to that, as well as now an identified learning disability along
Okay.
with that. So that's like a 3-pronged strike.
But prior to that disability being established, do schools just move them on to the next grade?
Well, it really is attendance. As I say, how are we doing? If they attend regularly, if there's no disability, and if we've had them. Because it's easy when you see the statistics in the public at large. Like, do they attend school? Because, the state of Oregon took away all kind of punitive aspects about attendance. We can wave our finger, we can send an attendance letter, but there's nothing we can do.
Okay.
And if education isn't valued in that home or not a priority, our hands are truly tied. So they just get passed along.
So does a child have to meet certain criteria before they go from 2nd to 3rd grade? Maybe that's a silly question. Or are they automatically a 3rd grader because the 2nd year of school ended?
I'll give you another example. We had a student last year that should have been a 4th grader because he'd never been to school before. And we taught him how to write his name. And there's no exaggeration. He didn't know how to write his name. He didn't know basic skills at all. So we consulted with our special education director, and the lowest we placed him was 2nd because of his age. Retention for older kids is not a popular option. The research shows that isn't as helpful because then they're just thrown in a class and they can't maybe access that work either. And what do? Put a 4th grader in with a kindergartner in an intervention? So the best thing is that instructional support from our IAs, which many people have commended. Getting those kids one-on-one interventions are really what they need, but no school has the budget for that.
Right.
Any other questions? Yeah.
The indications are that the general fund will get tighter in the coming years for lots of good reasons.
Right. And then the fear of title being cut is
Yeah.
we're Title I school, Lawrenceville's Title I.
Yep. And a key part of the Cloverdale report and now the Turner report and most of the reports we've heard for the last, as long as I've been here, highlight the relationship between the experiential kinds of learning that happens and the ability to connect to kids academically, which leads me to think the partnerships with the PTAs are only going to become more and more critical to learning. Are we as a district, I'm sure at the school level, you're doing a good job. Are we at the district level doing a good job in maintaining our partnership with our PTAs? Or are there things that I can't even think what they might be, but are there things we should be paying attention to So we're maximizing the PTA success as opposed to burning out people.
I think I can, only speak for my own community, and I think we are doing a great job in accessing our community partnerships, and it also is being present. In the fall when we have our open house and we have a ducky race and it's $1 for a duck and it all goes to a family in need. This last year, it was a family that tragically, unexpectedly lost their dad. And then you go into the pizza place in Turner and they hear about it, so they hand me $100. So it is about those community connections, our strong relationships with our families. And I mean, that is certainly solid. If it weren't for the contributions of our Turner Parent Club, we certainly wouldn't have the experiential education and the field trips that we do.
Traditionally, John, PTAs have always just worked with the elementaries. So that's an interesting thought that you had. I have been to, over the time, been to a couple of regional meetings with regard to PTAs. They've always stayed pretty focused on K5, K6, depending on, how that works. But as we get tighter with budgets, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, to expand it, because we have some amazing parents right now. And like they tell me, we only have me for 2 more years because then their kids leave Turner. So if we could access these amazing parents that are really pouring a lot of time into our school. But that gets tricky because the kids no longer want their parents stopping by. So that's, it's not just the schools, it's the other way around too.
Yeah.
Any other questions about our report?
Questions? Nope. All right. Thank you
And
very
then
much.
before I depart, there was a team of us that worked on getting a Cascade Wellness Grant, and I know that report is uploaded for you. And I do want to invite you, we have $250,000 to use for our staff wellness over the course of the next 5 years. And if you want to participate in any of those activities, from fly tying with Santiam fly casters to country line dancing, I could send Lisa, the latest newsletter has all the QR codes and you could sign up. And also the courthouse gave us a free week. They just notified me yesterday that they're giving us 2 free weeks. So you can go to the Courthouse Fitness Center, try it out, but you're definitely an integral part of Cascade. And I want you to be welcome to participate in any of the activities. We have activities, we have incentives in each of the sites and around the district. Like if you drink enough water, you'll get a drawing for a prize. We also have education and training. Some of the sites are doing weekly training sessions starting last week at Cloverdale and Thursday at Turner. So feel free to participate in any offerings that we have. So we'll try to bring in the money that we can, even though there's definitely a looming deficit. So any questions about that? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, we've got elementary assistant principals report, Almsville Elementary Assistant Principals report. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. So nice to see you. You have my report on your screen. It covers some good behavior data throughout the year. It talks about some fundraising things that we've done. Something I'd like to highlight is our attendance, which several people here have already talked about tonight, but how important our attendance is. As you can see, it's grown significantly over the last 3 years. Our chronically absent students, which are the ones that miss 90%, miss 10% of their school or more. They're here 90% or less than 90%, right? Yeah. We have a 13% decrease in those chronically absent students over the past 3 years, which is a huge success for us. And we can attribute that to lots of factors. One of them being that our attendance director, Ann Yunker, she comes to our school every other week. I know some schools she meets with only once a month, but because we have such a big population at Almsville, she comes every other week. And she and I and the counselors sit down and we talk about every single student. We start at kindergarten, we go through, we talk about every student. We track all of their biweekly or bi-monthly data, how their attendance is, and we go through and see, oh, this kid's dropping attendance. What's going on? And we just talk about, oh, they had, family sickness, they had their tonsils out, they had surgery, and because we can get together with the counselors and all of us as a team, we can really kind of come at it from different angles. So we can really talk about each student And we just go through kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all the way through fifth grade. And then we talk about, okay, what are the next steps? What can I do? What can you do? Who's going to reach out to this family? You know, we don't know what's going on with this family. Well, what are we going to do about it? You know, do we need to connect them to Cheryl Harmon at the Family Resource Center? Maybe they're having some car troubles. Maybe they don't have transportation, you know? So it's very important that all of us get together and we talk about each kid and their situation. So I think that's made a huge impact. The second thing that's made an impact is just our school culture, making sure that every kid is important, making sure they know that we want them there. And that comes down to our staff, you know, hiring super awesome teachers and instructional assistants. Like several people said, our classified week, we celebrated them this last week, and it was so amazing. Just to support them because they do so much work. Like we would not function without them. And so celebrating them and praising them, it was just an awesome week. What else? So we talk about each student, and we have a super awesome culture. Our daily attendance rate is at 92.8%, which is better than almost every school around us. And seeing as how Almsville, we house all of our special programs, some of our medically fragile students. It's kind of impressive that we have that such high attendance rate. And then there's some cool graphs there on my report because I'm artsy fartsy and I like data. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, you know I do. I have two questions.
Of course.
First, you referred to the school as a super awesome culture. Was that a self-evaluation or did that come from an outside?
Of course.
That was self-evaluation?
Yeah.
I was curious on that. And then there's in your report here, you said that there's a daily check-in, check-out with a trusted adult for kids on the behavior issue. My question is, does the same adult stick to certain kids, or is it whoever's on today hits all of the kids? So it's a revolving adult that they check in with.
So that formal check-in, check-out is always one trusted adult for that one
So
student.
it's the same adult to that kid, so that kid can build a relationship on a one-on-one basis there.
Yep.
Instead of it being 3 or 4, whoever happens to be standing there today.
Right.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's the teacher that they had last year and they already have a strong connection with that teacher and they go in and check in. How are you doing today? What's going on? You know, how was your night? Are you super amped coming into school today? Okay, what's our daily goal? And then at the end of the day, they come back and check in, and sometimes they get a prize or something for having, you know, really good behavior and staying on track on their goals. But yeah, it's always the same person.
Nice. Okay. Cool. And I do appreciate your self-evaluation. Awesome. Nice.
I want to partner on what Pete said about serving the community. I'm super thankful to be in this position, and I'm super happy that you guys hired me. And I love Almsville, and I love my job.
We love having you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on to 5, discussion and communication. 5A is personnel, and it looks like we're going to 5A1, which is new staff recommendations, Mr. Drill.
Yep, you have 2 names in front of you to finish out the year with different people having to step away, as Mr. Pillar was talking about earlier. We recommend these 2 folks to step in. And as you notice, right, both have master's degrees, so that means they've got some experience that helps us in the process.
Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay, going on to licensed employee renewals, Mr.
Right.
Drill.
So this is this is the month where we go through that process and we renew everybody. So that means all the people on the list, right, have been reviewed by the administrators, that many of which are in front of you this evening. And we recommend moving them forward, either at a probationary status to the next year, or probationary status to contract, or contract to contract. So that is the process. By law, we need to have that done and taken care of by March 15th.
So the very bottom segment of that on page 2 says temporary PERS retiree employees to be non-renewed. Does that mean folks that have hired back and then said, hey, I'm done?
We have to, by law, since they're PERS retirees, we have to non-renew and then go back through a process of rehiring them as
Got it.
well, right? But that gives you a list that we have, the number of people that are doing that. But
Right.
the vast majority, right? We are very interested in having them come back.
Okay, Dynamite. Any questions on that? Nope. All right, moving on is 5B, which is the superintendent evaluation and contract. We met with Mr. Drill this evening to go over the evaluation. I think it'd be fair to say that was a very positive evaluation of Mr. Drill, and we've elected to renew his contract, and we hope he will accept it.
Accepted. Accepted, yeah.
Does
Happy to be back.
Does
Thankful.
anybody want to add anything to that part of the discussion? Nope. We're grateful for what you do. We're very appreciate all of the effort and time you put into this district and everything you do for all of us up here and the district as a whole. Thank you.
Appreciate
Much
it.
appreciated.
Yeah, thank you guys for doing that, but it wouldn't happen without everybody here.
Understood
So,
completely.
you know.
But this is your moment.
I thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I do. But there's people in this audience that, you know, that remind me, that push me, that argue with me, that agree with me. And without that, we're not better. So what I appreciate most is the relationship that I get to have with these guys here. So,
Dynamite.
yeah.
We will continue to hold you to the high standard that we've come to expect.
Okay.
So
Deal.
thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Anything else, anybody? Nope. All right, moving on. 5C, Budget Committee Calendar. Mr. Pillar.
Yes, you have your budget committee, a proposed budget committee calendar. We are typically our budget committee meets once. They have the opportunity to meet again if they so choose. But that proposed calendar in front of you needed to be published. Excuse me. And then that tells us how to set up all the publication, pre-publication deadlines and stuff that we have. So that's just something you need to approve.
Is our budget committee full right now?
I believe it's not.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite.
We
We're close.
probably will have an appointment next
Okay.
month's meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're working
I'm
on
not
it
sure
right now.
exactly
Dynamite.
who's
Okay.
not coming back this
That's
year.
fair. Okay.
Any other questions?
Any questions? Nope. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Pillar. We've got 5D, an out-of-country trip request from Mr. Drill.
Yeah, so as you guys are aware, we have a travel club. We've had it for, geez, what do you think, Pete? 6 or 8 years now. They raise money and they go on a trip, and along the way, lots of learning about new cultures, new ideas, new places, right? So this is the year that they go to Spain, Italy, and Greece. They've been raising money for that, and they've done a great job. Down below, you can see 25 students and staff, chaperones, 5 parents, and 1 nurse who is a parent. So they are in the process. They need to come to you and ask for permission, but the plan is to go here, I believe, this summer.
Super cool.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. Any questions on that?
Can I go?
You have to talk to
Sure.
Mr. Drill about that.
Start
Yeah.
checking in with them. I think their
Start fundraising.
next one's planning for next year. Yeah, exactly.
All right, 5E, employee recognition, second trimester, Mr. Drill.
So as you guys are aware, every trimester we we ask administrators who is just doing an extraordinary job in each building. And so this is the first time that anybody has seen that, short of the administrators nominating their person out of their building. So right now you can see for the second trimester at Cloverdale, Karen Cave has been selected as the outstanding educator. That's what we call them, employee. Turner has Tara Lynch, and Jessica, is it Seiler? Is that how you say that? Thank you, Lisa. I want to make sure I get it right. Almsville has Cindy Delamarter and Haley Elsasser. The high school has Remy Strapp and Ashley Charbonneau. That sounds right. You got to go home and say nice things to your wife, my friend.
Am I supposed to tell her?
No, I don't know if she knows. Does she know?
Public knowledge now.
Okay. Well, you know something she doesn't. You can figure that out. You decide how you want to play that game. And then the junior high, Reina Gonzalez and Tim Stuckert just do a fantastic job. Every trimester, we say thank you. I'll be writing letters on behalf of myself and you guys, the board, and thanking them just for doing a great job. We'll put their pictures out here like we do for the second try, and then we'll get to the third try and do it throughout the summer and into the fall.
Dynamite. Any questions on that? No. All right, going on is 5F, OSBA, proposed board policy updates, first reading.
So the first reading you have in front of you, thank God, they're smaller in number. Lisa and I both agree that, I know, exactly. We both agree that these are smaller, all of which I believe on here are requirements, right? That the updated process that OSBA attorneys went through them and said, here are the changes they are required.
All right. Anybody question? Nope, we're good. All right, going on to 6, which is informational item. 6A is retirement.
Have a retirement there, and I do believe this is where I miss my HR director full-time. Please, they're going to continue to work back. So they're going to retire and work back in 3rd grade over at Almsville.
All right. And next would be the staff leave of absence.
Yes, from time to time, we do have staff that ask for a continuing leave of absence. In this situation, we would recommend that that is okay. We have somebody that will cover that process. And they, if I remember right, they'll be back in the fall.
Okay. 6C is the coach advisory list.
So every season, right? Mr. Rise and Mr. Nolan bring us the names of coaches. This is your ongoing list. So you see the list of names in here. So the fall, winter, and now spring coaches that should be highlighted. And we should be almost done with all those coaches. So we can turn around in the fall and start over again.
Awesome.
Yeah. But that way you can see who they are and what they're coaching.
Got it.
So is this list updated? Because it looks like do we still have I probably shouldn't say that. Is this updated?
Mrs. Thatcher and I met last week.
Okay.
Go to the microphone. Thank you. Thank you. You're saving me, my friend. Thank you.
Mrs. Thatcher and I meet before each season and go through that. I'm not looking at that list,
Okay.
but we do meet
Okay.
and go through that list, and everything that I would say that I've had my eyes on is accurate.
I think there's a coach on here that you'd let go.
Okay.
We can take a look at that. If it looks like it's in yellow, those are the newest ones for the spring.
But it might just be for spring.
Okay.
The yellow highlighted ones are spring. The other ones that are not have already been done for fall and winter, unless
Oh,
we're
got
missing
it.
somebody. You're thinking we might be missing somebody?
I'm gonna look again.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Let me know and we can make sure we got it.
All right. Any other questions on the coaches? Nope. All right. 6D, community meetings, long range planning.
You okay with that? I'm gonna turn that over to Mr. Coskella, who's
Yeah.
been kind of in charge of that process.
All
So I'll
right.
let him do the talking. Because he's gonna get all the dates and all the people exactly correct.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So we have been doing a lot of work in preparation for the bond, and as you know, we went out for a bid and we hired a combination of BBL Architects, WRK Engineering, and RNC Management, which is going to lead us through the process of coming up with a long-range plan, so that we then have a prioritized list of needs in our district that you can use as a board to say, here's the plan we want to go out for if we want to choose to go out for a bond and do that process. We're really focusing on getting community input in that. So the committee that will meet will begin next Thursday, March 20th. And then we will meet in the 4 Thursdays of April as well. And those will be looking at all of the facility assessments that were done by the architectural firm. What are the biggest needs in each building that need to be taken care of? And also then have this process of gathering from the whole group, what are we going to need for the future in Cascade? And then how do we work together to prioritize those? We need and would love to have board participation in that group so that you are a part of that process and know what's going on. Just because of the way that public meeting laws are, we don't want to have any more than 2 board members at any particular meeting so that we don't have to deal with all of that complicated issues of things. So it's up to you as a board how you want to handle that. It could be that you want to appoint 2 of you to be at every one of those meetings. It could be that all of you want to be a part of like what's going on at different points, and you would set up a schedule of rotating through that process, making sure that there's no more than 2 for each one. But we just would love to have you be a part of that process, however seems right to you.
So Greg, are you here to kind of ask them of that? Okay.
Yes.
And it might be wise for you guys to think about that and then get back to me and let me know if there's, like I said, it's March 20th, which would be next Thursday. and then the consecutive Thursdays in April for a meeting. So you guys might want to talk about that. If you want to talk about it now, certainly that's okay. If you want to,
Time?
what's that?
Is it in the evening time?
Evening time,
Yes,
6
we're going to
to,
begin at 6 p.m. The first one we're thinking will be about 3 hours because it's going to include some tours to different buildings. The rest of them should be around 2 hours.
Are they here at the high school?
Yeah, we're going to meet in one of the science classrooms right over here.
Cool. So my thought would be, consult your calendar, check it out. One by one, check in with the board chair. And then I can get from him or from any of you, hey, here are the dates that I can make it, and we can make sure that we've got you guys on the list. Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
When it's done, is there going to be like a presentation to the board on like we're done with it, here's the thought?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. That's one of the reasons we've hired RNC. Scott Rose, who was way back with the last bomb, was a part of it as one of the architectural firms. He now is part of an organization that is what's called a owners rep group, where their job is to represent the interests of the school district. So he will be coming to you to present the report. Here's what all our findings were. Here's what's going on. We probably also will be taking some of the recommendations of that group back out to the community at large to get feedback from them as well.
Right.
But definitely you as a board will get the updates and the full report from that committee, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Does
Yep.
that look like an exec session or is that
No.
just part of a board?
Be part of a board meeting.
Board? Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Want to done it. We want to do it right in public, right in front of everybody, see what we're doing, right? Take a look at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
makes sense.
And what I would say is the big thing that we want to emphasize this time around is we have been taking our time to get a lot of feedback in this process. We've done surveys already to get impact from the community. We are doing this process to make sure that we have key community folks involved so that we're getting the input so that we have the best input possible for coming up with a good plan that the whole community can get behind.
Any additional? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Right. Good question, Aaron.
All right, 6E, Statement of Economic Interest, deadline reminder.
Yeah, just be reminded that on March 15th, the statement of economic interest that myself and Mr. Pillar and the 5 of you are required by law to do, right, will pop up on March 15th and it closes on April 15th. So, and the upside is that Lisa can monitor to see whether or not we have completed it. And when I don't complete mine, guess who reminds me of that? So Lisa does. So yeah, so there's 2 of you. Yes, that's true. But yeah, that's a reminder. So that should pop up in your email on March 15th, and it doesn't take more than about 5 minutes to finish it up. Okay,
All right,
just a
very
reminder.
good. Any questions on that? Nope. All right, next is public comment. My understanding is there's no public comment. Then we move on to resolutions. And just a minute, I'm almost there. All right, resolution 8A1, resolution regarding new staff recommendations.
Be it resolved that the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the new staff as recommended by administration.
Second.
8A1, resolution regarding new staff recommendations has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Nope. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8A2, resolution regarding license renewal list.
Mr. Chairman, if we could move out of order slightly, I'd like to skip that and then declare a potential appearance of a conflict, and I'll abstain from the vote.
Not a problem. We'll move down the list. And Aaron, if you wouldn't mind, 8A2, resolution regarding license renewal list.
Okay. Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the license renewal list as presented and recommended by the administration.
Second that. 8A2, resolution regarding license renewal list has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? And John, you're abstaining from voting on this, yes?
Thank you.
Yep. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8B, resolution regarding superintendent evaluation and contract. John, you want to do that one or you want to?
Sure.
All right, all you.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to renew the superintendent's contract based on the completion of the annual evaluation.
Second.
8B, resolution regarding superintendent evaluation and contract has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8C, resolution regarding budget committee calendar.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the 2025-2026 Budget Committee calendar as proposed by administration.
Second.
8C, resolution regarding budget committee calendar has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8D, resolution regarding out-of-country trip request by the travel club.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the out-of-country trip request by the Travel Club to travel to Spain, Italy, and Greece, June 23rd through July 6th, 2025.
Second.
8D, resolution regarding out-of-country trip requests by the travel club has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8E, resolution regarding employee recognition for second trimester excellence.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to congratulate the 9 employees selected by the administration for excellence in the second trimester of the 2024-2025 academic year. The board sincerely thanks you for all that you do for Cascade.
Second.
8E, resolution regarding employee recognition for second trimester excellence has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8F, resolution regarding board policies first reading.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the first reading of the board policies as proposed by OSBA.
Second.
8F, resolution regarding board policies first reading has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Future agenda items, Mr. Drill.
Obviously, right, we'll continue to keep you updated on the bond progress and the meetings that we have, right? So Mr. Costello is going to be busy. Appreciate that. And want to thank Mr. Pillar in advance for getting ready for the budget. And we'll have that ready for you. So April should look like a normal board meeting. And then in May, we will have the double meeting with the budget, right, hearing, and then the regular meeting. And then June, assuming all goes well, we'll wrap the budget meeting in with the June meeting at the same time. So I'm getting a nod from Mr. Pillar, so I said it correctly. That's always a good sign to check your finance person to make sure he's saying yes. But that should be the 2 things on the list.
Dynamite. And before we wrap up, I will again tell you, thank you for your evaluation and your acceptance. And we look forward to another fabulous year with you at the lead.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Much appreciated. All right. Anything else from the board? All right. Thanks, everybody. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.